Hi friends, Miriam Bell here. I don't even remember my name. Apparently it's Saturday and I don't even know my name. Miriam Bell here with Blue Zones Project, and I am here to help you all celebrate National Zucchini Bread Day. Yay! I bet you had it on your calendar. I had it on my calendar, and so we are doing this very special live edition to teach you how to make some zucchini bread. So before we get started, I do want to show you the sample that I made last night of this recipe because I actually took a couple of different recipes online and I modified them to make them a little bit simpler and use ingredients that you might actually have around your house. There's a huge variance in recipes for zucchini bread, and also I wanted to make a chocolate zucchini bread, which is a little less common. So I actually made a loaf of this zucchini bread last night just to try it out, and it turned out fabulously. It is, and obviously some is gone because you have to try it. But we have this lovely zucchini bread here. So I actually opted to put some raspberries on top of it because what goes better with chocolate than raspberries? And I had some in the refrigerator, just a few left that I needed to do something with. So I put them in or on the zucchini bread and just placed them on top before I baked. So it's very delicious, a very dense, very chocolatey bread. It is not as high in sugar as many of the other zucchini bread recipes, so I actually really like it because sometimes sweet breads get a little bit too sweet. So this is the finished product, but we're going to show you how to make it. So because it's zucchini bread, it does have actual fresh zucchini in it, so you can either use a grater and you can grate your zucchini. I have a food processor, so what I did is I just shredded it in the food processor. It uses a lot of zucchini. It's actually a heaping 1 cup in this recipe, which I will share on this post as well. But you also want to get a lot of the moisture off of it because when you have extra moisture when you're baking things, it just doesn't turn out quite right. And I'm going to make the assumption that you might not have cheesecloth at your house. I couldn't find mine, so I used a towel for that batch, and I'm going to use some paper towels for this batch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this newly shredded zucchini. This is going to be my first step. I'm going to dump it out on this paper towel here. And then I'm just going to press some moisture out of it. That's as scientific as it gets. I'm just going to press moisture and get as much moisture as I can out of these little zucchini bits and let that sit on that paper towel while we make the rest of the recipe. Now the oven is preheating at 350, and we're going to go ahead and spray our pan. This is a 1 loaf recipe. So you're going to make 1 big, beautiful, chocolatey loaf of zucchini bread. So, done and done. So first up, we do dry ingredients. So this calls for 1 1/3 cups of whole grain flour, or whatever flour that you have at your house. I happen to have whole grain flour, and also because of the density of this recipe and that you expect it to be dense and not necessarily light and fluffy, whole grain flour typically works really well in those recipes. So I have my handy dandy bucket of whole grain flour, and we're going to do approximately 1/3 cup. That's how I cook. I guesstimate a lot. Okay, so then we have a tablespoon of cornstarch. Whipping through the dry ingredients. And this is a really great recipe to do with the kids, unless you're hiding the zucchini from them and don't want them to know that there is zucchini in this recipe. So there's always that option. Either show them that it's in there or hide it from them. But baking is always a fun thing to do with the family. So then we've got half a cup of cocoa powder. Lots of cocoa powder, but like I said, it is a very rich chocolatey recipe. So we've got some general cocoa powder. There we go. Easy enough. And then we've got a teaspoon each of baking powder and baking soda. So we've got those here. But even with those in there, it doesn't rise a whole lot. Let's see here. There we go. And by the way, this recipe freezes really well. I believe it said up to 6 weeks in the freezer. So I like to freeze half loaves because there's only 2 of us in the house. But you could make a double batch, make 2 loaves and freeze one of the loaves and have that for a great weekend breakfast or even a fun snack during the week. Okay, then we have half a teaspoon of salt. Use my teaspoon, fill it up halfway, there we go. Okay, so dry ingredients, done and done. So I'm just mixing that up, making it a little bit more even, making sure it looks like just a lovely chocolate powder, and getting that out of the way. So then we're going to move on to those wet ingredients. So we have a 1/4 cup of non-dairy milk, because this is a plant-based recipe. However, if you want to use dairy milk, you're welcome to do that too. It's your kitchen. So a 1/4 cup, and I'm actually going to put it in this Pyrex here that already has my 1/3 cup plus 1 tablespoon of neutral oil. So I have canola oil. So we have a 1/4 cup of non-dairy milk. Oh, hi Daniel. Yes, this is zucchini bread. This is chocolate zucchini bread, actually, which is a really great option, a really great way to use zucchini. Okay, so we've got those together, and then we're going to do, this calls for 3/4 cup cane or coconut sugar. I actually only used half a cup accidentally in the loaf that I made yesterday, and it turned out just great. But you could do 3/4 of a cup. They want you to put it into the wet ingredient, so that's what I did. Turned out just fine. There we go. And then a teaspoon of vanilla extract. This is a recipe you can get away with doing the not true vanilla extract, the imitation. And then a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. And then 1 ripe mashed banana, or you can do half a cup of applesauce. I can't talk today. Or 2 flax eggs, which is water and then milled flax. So I have this banana that I mashed. That's usually my favorite. Applesauce is not my favorite way to do it. A flax egg would also be great. But since I had bananas and I had one that was a little bit too ripe, I mashed it up. I'm throwing it into those wet ingredients. Mixing it all in together. All right. Re-enter the dry ingredients. We've got that together. Now there is a little bit of a option with this loaf, in that if you do not feel that your loaf is quite, it's too thick, way too thick, then you can add a little bit more of that dairy-free milk. But it really depends on how it comes out for you. There are all kinds of things can play a factor in that. The ingredients that you use, the flour that you use, I used whole grain flour, so it's going to tend to be a little bit thicker, which is fine, which it did yesterday a little bit. So I just add in a little bit. It's a little bit too clumpy for my taste. So, and a couple more tablespoons approximately. Either way, I think you're just fine. Okay, so it's barely mixed here, and this is when we throw the zucchini in. So we have the zucchini that we pressed in this paper towel, and now we're going to, without completely messing up your kitchen, hopefully. I made a mess and dumped this all over my kitchen yesterday, so we're gonna hope it goes better today. We're gonna dump the zucchini in. It actually looks pretty well dried from the paper towel pressing. So there's the zucchini part of the zucchini bread. And there's a big, right there, make sure you don't have any big clumps. Now they do have options. If you want to add in chocolate chips or cacao nibs, you can do that. I actually have both, and I'm okay with both. However, I want to use these up because these are ones that have been in my cabinet for a while, and it's time for them to be used. They've been open in my cabinet for a while, so it's time for them to be used. And I also, I don't typically like these any other way than baked in things, in baked goods. So it says a cup. This is approximately a cup. In true Miriam style, we're just gonna dump it in. I promise 9 times out of 10, this dumping in method, it works just fine for me. Things usually taste pretty decent at my house. All right. So we've got this lovely zucchini thick bread dough here. Let me give you a, try not to dump this on my laptop. So you can see the zucchini pieces in there. They're not super fine, but they actually cook really well, and they don't show up too prominently in the baked version. All right, we're ready to put this in the loaf. So I put raspberries on my loaf yesterday, but I also thought it'd be kind of nice to put any berry. I had berries. Blueberries are great. I'm a big fan of blueberries right now, and you can get really good blueberries right now. Also a fan of coconut. You could put coconut on it. They actually give you the option. You can sprinkle more chocolate chips on the top if you would like to. Lots of different options. Or you can just keep it as is. But here we go. Zucchini red ready to go in the oven. It cooks for 50 to 60 minutes. Low and slow, 350. And again, I'm going to show you the finished product. This is the finished zucchini bread from yesterday. It's almost cake. It's almost cake. Not nearly as sweet, but it could almost pass as cake. But it's got a huge helping of zucchini in it and banana in it, and I've got raspberries in there too. So we've got some plants in there. So happy National Zucchini Bread Day. Go celebrate and make some wonderful zucchini bread. It is a great treat. It is a great freezer-friendly food, so get that baking done. But don't hesitate to throw some of it in the freezer for the next couple months, because as life gets a little bit crazier and as things are reopening, schedules are going to change, and you might want to have some fun, healthy options available that you can just pull out and thaw. So have a wonderful day, have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you all on Monday. Bye, friends.